Hey, what do you say? Welcome to the channel. Sonia living my best life. And you know, I'm Sonia doing my best to live my best life. Well, I thought I would pop on here and update you guys, anyone that might be interested in what's going on with Sonia. Unfortunately, I am not going to be able to take any trips this summer, which really makes me sad. I thought I would at least be able to get a 2 or 3 weekend trip before I come back home and deal with the knees, but can't even deal with the knees. Those of you guys that saw the last video, you know I had an incident on March 31st, but let's back up a little bit from there. Oh, and by the way, I'm sitting outside enjoying the weather, so you're going to hear outside sounds. Anyway, back in August is when I first started having these, I call them episodes. I'm leaving church, I stood up, and I felt like I was going to faint. So I sat back down. In about 3 or 4 minutes, it passed, and I got up, went on to the van, and came home. Didn't think much of it. Probably about 3 weeks later, I am in the shower, washing my hair, and I feel myself getting ready to faint. And so I know I'm getting ready to go down, so I start slowly lowering myself as close to the bottom of the tub as possible, because I knew I was gonna faint. So I faint in the shower. I was out not too long. Got out the shower and just wrapped the towel around me and went and got in the bed and laid down. And so I made an appointment. I can only get a phone call with the doctor, so I made a phone call with the doctor. You know, told him what was going on. He was absolutely zero help. He didn't, he was no help. He was just no help. So I was like, okay, whatever, and didn't think too much of it. And so time goes on, and I really don't feel like I'm going to faint or anything else for quite a while. But I do kind of feel kind of off, but just don't know why or how, can't pinpoint it. So fast forward from September to March 31st, I get up as normal, go to make my coffee. So I'm standing there making my coffee, and then the sensation hits me again. I feel like, okay, I'm getting ready to faint. So I start lowering myself down to the floor, between putting my back up against the refrigerator and the counter, and I start lowering myself down. And sure enough, I pass out. And this one felt a bit different, and it took me a little bit longer to recover from this one. So my granddaughter's boyfriend was asleep in the living room, so he heard me hit the ground, and he called to me and asked if I was okay, and I told him, no, come and help me get off the floor. So he comes in the kitchen, he helps me get up off the floor, and I'm trying to make it to the couch, but he doesn't hold on to me. I don't know if I told him anything or not, but I took about 2 steps, and then I went out like a light. Honestly, the last thing I remember is trying to get up, and then I remember them getting me up off the floor. And so I fell. I went all the way out. I fell. I hit my cheek on the ground, and I believe I knocked myself unconscious and had a nice rug burn on my left cheek, right underneath my eye. And then I had my glasses on, so thank you, Jesus, that they didn't break and do more damage to my eye and my face. And so he yells for the kids. Brianna comes in, and she sees me on the floor. She runs back there and get my son and his girlfriend, and they run out to the living room, and they are trying to get me to come too. And like I said, I knocked myself unconscious, so it took a while for them to get me to come too. And so they I don't hear anything but call 911. And so I'm like, no, don't call, just no. And so then they're still trying to talk to me, and I'm still not hearing anything. And so Wendy says, call 911. I heard that again, and I said no. And they got me up off the ground, and I immediately had to go potty. Just like I knocked the shit out of me. I immediately had to go potty, and went potty, and then went to the couch and sat down, and I was still out of it. I don't even really remember going to the potty other than saying I need to go, and then getting back to the couch. And then I kept apparently I kept asking them the same questions over and over. And so they kept trying to get me to go to the hospital, and I'm like, nah, it's not that big of a deal. It's okay. So of course I don't go. I sit there all day, and they just, monitor me, and I take my crazy butt to work the next day. And so that was April 1st. So then I'm joking around and playing with the kids, trying to pull a April Fool's joke on them. And one of my students is looking at me really strange. And I'm like, why does he keep looking at me like that every time I smile? So I took a picture. I smiled and I took a picture. And I noticed that the left side of my face, my left side of my smile was not responding. So I was like, okay, that's not good. And then I was still feeling a little off, not too bad. And so I take the next day off of work, and I said, all right, if I'm still feeling kind of off, I'll go ahead and go to urgent care. So I go ahead and I take myself over to urgent care, and, he's talking to me, and I'm telling him, this is like the third episode of this fainting stuff. And so, and then he was going to have me, do some tests there. And then I showed him that my smile wasn't responding. And he was like, oh, no, go ahead and go over to the hospital. Do you need me to call for an ambulance to come get you and transport you over there, or do you have a way? And I said, oh, no, my son will come get me and take me. So Wendy and Bubba came and picked me back up and took me over to the hospital. And from there, Kaiser admitted me and sent me down to St. Bernardine's, and I was there for 4 days. 2.5 days I was there. And they ran every test that they can run. They did everything. Everything came back clean, except my cholesterol was a little high. And my smile still wasn't responding, but I had no weakness, and the paralysis is only in the little cheek area for the smile, not in the rest of my face, not on my left side. So they think I had a TIA, a mini stroke. And I never believed that, but I was like, okay. So they put me on baby aspirin and told me to go see the cardiologist and the neurologist. So I got to the cardiologist about a week later, and while I was there, he told me, they figured out that I had postural hypotension, so that when I was standing up, my blood pressure was dropping so rapidly. That's why I was beginning to faint. And so, and my blood pressure will drop 20 to 30 points easy when I stand up. And so that's what was causing me to faint. And so the cardiologist, discovered that. And so then I saw my primary doctor, and he really didn't have much to say about anything. So he was like, I need you, we get you over to the neurologist. So then they get me to the neurologist, and I talk to him. We go through everything, and he says, I agree with you. I don't believe you had a mini stroke, because there would have been weakness. There would have been more, paralysis in the face, not just localized in that one little area. And so we discovered that, no stroke, but I'm still having crazy symptoms. I call them the wobblies, where 95% of the time it feels like I'm falling. When I'm sitting, when I'm standing, when I'm laying down, it feels like I'm falling. And when I'm walking, sometimes I can walk semi-steady, sometimes it's really bad, and I'm stumbling a lot, and I call it drunk walking. And if I'm walking around for about 10 or 15 minutes, then that sensation of getting ready to faint hits me, and I have to sit down immediately, or I'm going to go down. So the neurologist, he sent me with a heart monitor. I wore that for a week, sent that back, so I'm waiting on him to get the results and read that and tell me what's going on. But it's very, very irritating with this, feeling like I'm going to faint quite a bit. And I was laying in bed, chilling, enjoying my day off, binge watching me some shows, and I probably had been in the bed all day. And so then I started feeling faint. The room started to spin. I started feeling faint. I got the tremors in my hands. It was very, very odd. And that lasted for about 3 or 4 minutes. And so, so that's what I've been going through. And so I've been watching stuff on YouTube and doctors on YouTube, because one lady suggested, well, it sounds like you might have POTS. Look that up, because I have a lot of brain fog. What else? I have a lot of brain fog, weakness, fatigue, headaches, dizziness, and I don't know if the hot is coming from the hot flashes that's still happening, that I've been having for the last 15 years. I've been having hot flashes since I was 44 years old. They really got bad these last 6 years, but that's where I'm at, still trying to figure this stuff out. So I wear compression socks, I wear my compression workout gear, pants, and that helps quite a bit, so that when I stand up, my blood pressure doesn't drop as fast. And so, just trying to figure out what's going on, because it is very exhausting, very tiring, very irritating, and I really can't go far. I drove one day, dropped Bubba off at work, and then went to Joann's, looked around in Joann's, and then I start feeling that sensation and that episode coming on. So I barely made it back to the van in time, and so I sat there for about 5 minutes, and then I felt somewhat better, so I started heading home, and I got about 3 blocks from the house, and my heart started racing, and it felt like I was getting ready to pass out while I was driving. So I pulled over to the side of the road, and I sat there for about 2 to 3 minutes, and then I felt better. I started driving some more. I got about a block and a half away from the house. Sensation came back again. I pulled over again, sat there for a little bit longer, and then made it back home. So yeah, I don't know what's going on. So if any of this sound familiar to any of you guys, and y'all kind of know, give me some suggestions, stuff to tell the doctor, I'd appreciate it. But I'm planting, what I planted at first were barefoot red daylilies, and now I'm planting wallflowers to go in the front yard. So that is what's going on with all of this so-called gardening stuff with me. So that's what I was planting, the barefoot red daylilies and wallflowers. Trying to get some color out here in the front, so when I sit and chill, I can look at some beautiful stuff sitting here. But keep me in your prayers. If you're praying people, hit me up in the comments. Let me know if any of this sounds familiar, or if you've known anyone that's been going through all this. Just to give me a heads up of some things more to tell the doctor. And then I was supposed to have both of my knees have arthritis, and they are very bad, so both knees need to be replaced. And so I was planning to take off for a couple of weeks and then come back and have one knee done, and then, or maybe both knees. I don't know. I may be brave enough to do them both at the same time. But, or if they do them, he may not even do them both at the same time. I don't know. But anyway, that's what I was planning to do. But I can't even have not one knee surgery until we figure out what's going on, especially with my instability with my walking. Because sometimes it looks like I am absolutely drunk, stupid, just drunk out of my mind sometimes when I'm walking. I don't fall, but I do a lot of stumbling and a lot of self-correcting, and that in itself is exhausting. All right, well, if you guys made it this long, hanging in here, listening to my tale, like I said, keep me in your prayers, and I will try my best to keep you guys updated. Peace, love, and blessings. Bye. Love you. Talk to you next time. And this is Sonia, living my best life. And, I thoroughly trust in the Lord Jesus Christ, so I know whatever is going on, he's in the midst of it, and he's got me. So I am not worried one bit. So deuces.